Hello and welcome to Sunday Talk, a sacred space in which we discuss wide range of issues regarding faith matters. At the center of Christianity is social justice. A Christian social belief that all of humanity is created equal. On this show, we discuss faith and justice issues regarding the state of affairs of the world and the church in particular. In this edition of our show today, we have a Methodist bishop coming out of the United States. And later in the show, we go to South Africa to talk with two distinguished guests from Cape Town and Johannesburg about the South African Faith and Family Institute. What a beautiful way to begin today, our show. Welcome from Cape to Cairo, from Johannesburg to Washington, D.C., from Washington all the way to Appalachia, from Cape to Cairo. Wherever you are throughout the length and breadth of the world, we want to welcome you to the show, Sunday Talk. And it's good to be back here again with another interesting and a fascinating edition. Let's begin with Methodists and Methodism. Methodism and Methodism in general are going through a period of transitioning. The world itself is going through a period of transitioning due to the unprecedented pandemic. Methodists throughout the US and the world were expected to meet for the past 2 years to finalize the way forward for the future of the United Methodist Church, either maintaining a united church since 1968, or perhaps splitting if there is no amicable resolution to some of the central debates around doctrinal matters. Because of the postponement of the Methodist General Conference for several years now, as a consequence of this global pandemic, some Methodist bishops have had to put in for retirement. As a consequence of these retirements, the subsequent delays also in the hosting of the General Conference, some bishops have had to take on a greater responsibility in managing some annual conferences with bishops. Bishop Cynthia Moore-Koikoi and Sandra Stainer-Ball of the West Virginia Annual Conference and the Western Pennsylvania Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church have come together in such an unusual and unprecedented collaboration to manage the affairs of three conferences, including the Susquehanna Annual Conference, while at the same time managing their respective conferences. Some time ago, I had the distinguished honor and a privilege to sit with Bishop Koikoi for a frank and a deliberative conversation on this model of leadership. Here are excerpts from our conversation. Stay tuned.
It is my expectation that God will continue to wrestle with us as God has in the past, and that the continuing United Methodist Church will be one that relishes its diversity while it is anchored in Jesus the Christ. It is my expectation that we will continue to be a global church with congregations that are liturgical and contemporary, congregations that are charismatic and evangelical, congregations that are socially active and urban and rural and small and large, congregations that have ministries in all aspects and segments of our society. It is my expectation, it is my thought that the continuing United Methodist Church will continue to nurture children and youth and young adults and the elders of our village, that we will continue to nurture discipleship amongst new disciples and amongst those who are more mature, who have been on this journey for a longer time. It's my thought that our future church will continue to be on it. Continents, and that we might even expand to include more. It's my thought that we will continue to be comprised of many different cultures and many different languages, that we will be a communion of different races, ethnicities, of different cultures and perspectives, all united by the Holy Spirit and anchored in Jesus the Christ. While we are driven by the mission of Christ, bearing witness to the unmerited grace that changes our lives and transforms communities. It is my thought that we will be a denomination, we will continue to be, but also we will intentionally become more of a denomination that is nimble and flexible, decentralized, and allows folks to contextualize ministry in their settings. So that's my thought about the continuing United Methodist Church.
Well, thank you, Bishop, for that response. And my next question is probably just a follow-up in reference to what you have just stated. Methodist Bishop Cynthia Moore-Koikoi, speaking to us on the vision of the continuing United Methodist Church. If you just join us, it's good to be with you wherever you are throughout the length and breadth of the United States. We want to welcome you to Sunday Talk. Those of you who are watching us globally, we want to use this opportunity to say a big welcome. Welcome to the show. That was Methodist Bishop Cynthia Moore-Koikoi of the Western Pennsylvania Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, speaking to us recently in an exclusive interview. This is Sunday Talk on the Christian Vision Broadcasting Network. Sunday Talk is designed for you and with you in mind. Coming up next, a conversation with the South African Faith and Family Institute. We call them for short SAFFI. We're going to be going to Johannesburg and Cape Town in just a little bit. Let's speak with Dr. Elizabeth H. Petersen. Dr. Elizabeth H. Petersen is the executive director of this noble organization, creating a sacred space for faith families in South Africa, and of course, the African continent in general. With Dr. Elizabeth and one of our board members who is currently coming to us from Johannesburg, South Africa. Excerpts from our engagement.
Here in Cape Town. And I think there I've seen and witnessed how women flee for their lives, and many of these children don't even know what it is to witness a healthy man, because the women would come and they're either pregnant or they are women with young children. And I think that whole experience have really further refined for me the urgency of this work. Because
Elizabeth H. Petersen, she's the executive director of the South African Faith and Family Institute. Just an excerpt there, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. We had a little glitch in our video, but Here is Elizabeth.
And I am the founder and the executive director of the South African Faith and Family Institute. Our office is based in Cape Town, but the work reaches, much further than just Cape Town, South Africa. Thank you.
Welcome to the show. And let me go to my second guest. He will introduce himself. Good day. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Rev Zaizai. It's Zukisa Fumba. I am the ordained minister in the Methodist Church of Southern Africa. I am currently stationed here in Highveld in the Swatini district, serving in Benoni Circuit, in the local congregation called Northfield Methodist Church. I've been here in Johannesburg for the past almost 2 years. I was serving before in Cape Town. And I am joining this podcast in my personal capacity as the minister here in the Methodist Church. I am the district gender desk convener here in my district here in Highveld in the Swatini. And I also voluntarily serve at the board of SAFFI, work with Elizabeth as one of the board members there in the board. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
This is a quite interesting global conversation. Two distinguished individuals joining from Cape Town and Johannesburg. It has a considerable history when we talk about the issues surrounding social justice, oppression, affirming human dignity, both from a colonial standpoint, from an imperialistic standpoint. But we will get to navigate those threads as we go along. The South African Faith and Family Institute, Elizabeth, you've done considerable work in this particular area of social work. Let's begin as a preliminary question for the benefit of our listeners and our viewers. How did it all come about? SAFFI, as it has become to be known now. Take us back.
It's a very long story, which I obviously will not go into. Folk can actually check our website also to read up a little bit more and so forth. But, in short, to say that I think I've known for a very long time that I'm supposed to work with men who abuse their intimate partners and also with religious leaders from various faith traditions. And I think the whole area of working on the faith dimension of gender-based violence in intimate relationships and families also stem from, I guess, my growing up. I've never seen my dad use violence or abuse or shaming or any of that thing, that sort with my mother or with any of us as his children. And I'm one of 9 children. So growing up in a difficult circumstances, as most of you would know, in South Africa under apartheid, Black people going through all sorts of dehumanizing experiences. But in the midst of all of that, I've never seen my dad use violence or abuse. So it's interesting because, like I said, I guess probably from the time when I was a teenager, I had this clarity of vision that I'm supposed to work with men who abuse their partners and with religious leaders. And it was only much later when I obtained my social work degree and my first job that I actually landed in a shelter for abused women and children. And that's the oldest shelter in South Africa. It was started in 1904, St. Anne's Homes, which is based here in Cape Town. And I think there I've seen and witnessed how women flee for their lives and many of these children don't even know what it is to witness a healthy man, because the women would come and they're either pregnant or they are women with young children. And I think that whole experience have really further refined for me the urgency of this work. Because the question that I always then lived with was, how do you get from a place of deep connection, loving, intimate relationship to a place where that relationship becomes such a toxic, violent, abusive space of terror and horror. And then I think also some of the other things that had happened. Another job that I had while I was working at St. Anne's, I was one of the first counselors for one of the first battered women counseling centers here in Cape Town. And I remember, one of the women that actually came into that center for counseling was a woman that went to the same church as I. And I know her and I know her husband because we grew up together in church. I mean, her husband, we're part of the youth. And I was hoping that she was basically lost and that she was just popping into the center to ask for directions. Because I did not want to know that, that there was any violence or abuse that she was experiencing. Only, of course, to discover that she actually did come to the center because she needed counseling. And there I had to sit, being the only counselor, I literally had to sit and listen to all the horrible things that my friend, who was a man of faith, have been doing to this woman. And but there's also countless stories afterwards, that I've had, close friends in the church, men who have been abusing their wives, men, some of them were faith leaders. Sometimes the church knew about them, but the church didn't know what, or kind of either tried to ignore the issue. And so, and only when there's, infidelity, only when he finally, it's discovered that he has an affair outside of the marriage, then almost permission is given for the woman to divorce him. And so there's that. But then on top of that, I think afterwards I've also realized that I probably need to do some research. So my master's research focused on challenges that clergy face in addressing domestic violence. And that research, amongst a whole range of other, sort of local and international research, informed the establishment of SAFFI. Yeah, so I think, like I said, there's a lot to be said about that, but it's a combination of those, what I've just shared.
Very, very inspiring story from those very early beginnings. And you were quite right on point to indicate some of the challenges that the church has faced in the midst of the abuses that take place. The church is a voice of conscience. Reverend Zukes,
Yes.
let me bring you into the picture. How did you come in contact with SAFFI, with Elizabeth, Dr. Petersen? And by the way, congratulations, Elizabeth. Elizabeth just received her PhD from the University of the Western Cape. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yes.
2 sleeps ago, I got it.
Okay, that's quite correct. Congratulations, Elizabeth. Yeah, Reverend Zukes. Let me bring you into the conversation. You're not a Methodist pastor in South Africa. SAFFI is doing a considerable work of justice, not only in South Africa, in other parts of the world, Elizabeth will get to talk to us as we progress into this program. Some of the major engagements she's been involved with in terms of whether it's educational, pro-advocacy in different parts of the world. But bringing you into the picture, what gravitated you to SAFFI? And you as a Methodist pastor, those challenging conversations pastors must have with their congregants, with their followers, with their parishioners. Talk to us a little bit as we begin this very interesting and fascinating conversation about SAFFI, its work in South Africa and other parts of the world.
Thank you so much, Rev, for the opportunity. I am the minister in the Methodist Church of Southern Africa.
Okay.
Southern Africa.
Yeah.
Yes, not South Africa. South Africa being part of it as well. Okay. So in the whole southern region here in Africa. So that's our connection. So it's not only South Africa. I just wanted to highlight that.
Okay. Are you strategically with the church in the Swaziland region?
Yes, the church in Swaziland is part of our conference. The church in Mozambique is part of our conference. The church in Botswana is part of our conference. The church in Namibia is part of our conference, and the church in South Africa. So those are the countries that makes up our connection. So it's those countries around in the Southern Africa.
That's wonderful. And talk to us how you gravitated. We thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It is not too long ago, but it was in 2015 when myself and other Methodist ministers outside the bishop's office in Cape Town, that it was on a Saturday and there were women ministers who gathered on that morning for a meeting. And I was still fresh from seminary then. I wanted to find out as to why are we not part of the conversation? And I was told that there is a conversation about women's issues. I'm not sure the echo, whether it's coming from me or where does it come from. There seemed to be an echo, but I can continue if it's not disturbing you.
No, not at all. Please do.
Oh, thank you so much. And so I was so inquisitive. I said, I'm the minister. I want to know what is going on. And little did I know that there was a transformative work that was taking place of gender. You know, it happened to be one of our ministers. It was all ladies gathered there. And my interest began from that Saturday after attending the meeting, or rather, while attending the meeting, and in several meetings afterwards, I was asked, Zooks, you are going to be our secretary, you're going to be our scribe. And it was a life-giving and refreshing moment for me to get to learn about gender dynamics and complexities and the difficulties about gender within the church specifically. And it was just a year before in the Methodist Church, we celebrated 40 years, only 40 years since women have been accepted into the order of presbyters and ordained. And so I think it was the following year whereby SAFFI was invited by our bishop then, Reverend Michelle Hanstott, in one of our synods that I get to know about SAFFI. And I read about SAFFI, and there was two representatives that I got to know at a distance. Elizabeth, and back then she is currently a doctor as well, Megan Robertson. So I got to know about the work of SAFFI and the work that was very much at the level of people and dealing with clergy, religious leaders, empowering and strengthening religious leaders to deal with this kind of work that even here in church, we don't know how to do the ministry that are life-giving, specifically with focus on gender and all its complexities and harmfulness and how it can bring life to homes, households, as Elizabeth spoke about the intimate partner relationship to actually make families flourish, out of doing this kind of work. And so later in the years, I got to know Elizabeth as I attended general meeting of SAFFI and the work of SAFFI. So the relationship began to a point that they risk so much to ask me to be one of the board members. And it's been quite a privilege for me, as a minister in the local congregation, having to work with organizations like SAFFI to empower myself, empowering the community.
That's the voice of Reverend Zukisa Fumba coming all the way out of South Africa, Johannesburg, to be exact. Earlier, you heard the voice of Dr. Elizabeth Petersen out of Cape Town, South Africa. First, we listened to Methodist Bishop, Bishop Cynthia Moore-Koikoi, who happens to be the current bishop of the Western Pennsylvania Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, as well as Susquehanna, talking about the arrangement that brought in two bishops, Bishop Sandra Stina Ball and Bishop Koikoi, to collaborate in managing the Susquehanna Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. The three conferences coming together in this particular tripartite arrangement in the midst of COVID and all of the challenges associated with it. I want to thank you so much for being a part of Sunday Talk this week. When it's Sunday Talk is of issues that we bring to you, relevant issues of faith. We come here each week trying to give you insights on a wide range of topics. And what a way to say thank you so much for being a part of the program. This week, our guests have been Bishop Cynthia Moore-Koikoi from the Western Pennsylvania Annual Conference and that of the Susquehanna Conferences of the United Methodist Church. Dr. Elizabeth H. Petersen, Executive Director of the South African Faith and Family Institute. Its acronym is SAFFI. And of course, Reverend Zukisa Fumba, a board member of SAFFI and a Methodist minister in the South African Methodist, United Methodist Church, coming all the way there from Joburg in South Africa. It's been a great privilege being with you today, having this conversation. We're going to continue this, and it is our expectation to expand on it in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. Conversation around faith is quite crucial. And then I want to take from the playbook of Dr. King, who brought to our attention that through sharing of our stories, through the sharing of our stories, we become aware of the pain, the loss, and injustice so many have faced. Acknowledging this pain allows us to begin the hard work of healing, action, and change. So in closing, Dr. King, I'm talking about Martin Luther King Jr., understood that the creation of the beloved community will never be mandated through policy or law. Instead, he reminds us it will have to come from us. everyday citizens taking action together, side by side. That's a word of caution for you today. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this particular presentation of our show. Sunday Talk, we come here each week, bringing you issues that have to do with faith matters. It's been a great privilege having you to be a part of this particular edition of our program. I want to thank you so much. My name is Zazek Whipplegate, part of thanking you for listening and wishing you a pleasant week. To all of you in the U.S., those in Cape Town, those in Joburg, those in Carroll, across the global community. Views and comments, I appreciate it. You just go into the comment section, send us a message. We will be more than glad to respond. It's been a great privilege being with you today. And of course, we will have another guest in the next edition. This is the 6th edition of our program, Sunday Talk. Let's hope it's been great. Let's hope it's been wonderful. It's always a pleasure to have you on this service, the Christian Vision Broadcasting Network. It is our desire and it is our determinative effort to continue to do the work of God, irrespective of the odds, irrespective of the challenges we encounter, irrespective of the challenges we endure. God willing, we'll be back again. Until next time. So long. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.